Sup guys, how we doing? And welcome to another episode of Insight into the Fitness Industry. So today I have Dean Nolan, who's a bodybuilder. So welcome Dean, if you just want to speak a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into bodybuilding.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. My name's Dean. I'm from Rochdale in Greater Manchester, and now I live in a small village in North Wales. But it's basically about 20 minutes from Chester, if anyone cares. I'm 29 years old. I've been training since I was 16, and kind of, if I give you the sort of cradle to grave, but shortened version, basically at 16 I was doing a lot of judo. I was quite competitive, and I was going into the adult ranks. And luckily, my best friend, his dad owned a gym. So, going from under 16 age categories, into the adults, I was outweighed by like 4 or 5 stone. So I thought, right, I need to put on some muscle somehow. So, 16 years old, picked up my first set of dumbbells at my mate's dad's gym, and started training and kind of following with it from there. It wasn't until probably about 8 years later when I really got into bodybuilding. In between, I was playing, obviously competing in judo, played a lot of football, hockey, did a bit of mid-distance running. I don't know why, but yeah. And then in sort of 2014, end of 2013, decided I was going to do my first competition, and yeah, that's how I got into bodybuilding.
So when you were kind of growing up and you first sort of touched the weights, for example, what were you doing from that period until, do you say 2013, 14?
Yeah, late 2013, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, I fell in love with training from the offset, really. But I was always kind of distracted, for want of a better word, with sports, just in general. So I was doing, I was maybe doing football training twice a week and I had a game on the weekend, but still like doing a bodybuilding split in the gym, which wasn't really the kind of conflicting messages to your body there. And that's kind of what I did for the first sort of 8 years of training. And in terms of my weight training, I was literally just getting in the gym and didn't really have a proper split or program. Just kind of concentrating on the big list because the only thing people care about is what you can bench, squat, deadlift. So I was kind of like making sure I did a big compound lifts and doing a bit of like blood isolation work in between and trying to fit it in with the sports I was doing at the time.
So in terms of your first show, what was that show and kind of how did that go?
Yeah, so the first show was UK BFF North East, and it was first times category. And basically, about every mistake in the book in that first competition season. The only consolation I had, or what I tell myself, is so this was like pretty much 2014 when I started prep. 2013 I made the decision, and then I thought, right, I'll bulk until prep starts, and then I'll start prep and I'll be in. And I didn't really have any. Social media wasn't back then what it is now. There was information out there, but I hadn't really looked to find it. And I kind of just threw myself in head first and thought, well, if I don't do it, I'm never going to do it. So, So the mistakes I made, I'll list off the main ones. I gave myself an unrealistic time frame. I just kind of went, well, that shows in 16 weeks, so that's enough time. Going into it, I wasn't tracking like macros or anything. I had a brief understanding of nutrition, but basically, I just thought, right, I need to eat protein every 2 to 3 hours and eat carbohydrates for energy, eat fats because it tastes nice, basically. So unrealistic time frame. To track my macros, so I didn't really know how to start the diet because it's not like I didn't even know what my maintenance calories were, so I didn't really know what my deficit was going to be. I just cut out all bad foods and just ate a clean diet of like chicken, broccoli, oats. Yeah, pretty
16
much.
16 weeks straight.
Well, worse. That's how it started. So I was pretty good, and at the time there was only one. So in North Wales, where I was living at the time, there wasn't really anybody that was competing. It's not really a big community here. There's a lot of people that train. It's not a bodybuilding community as such. It's just like a training community. There's a lot of people that do, rugby's quite popular, for example. There was one person in the gym who kind of advised me a bit, but he competed back in the late 80s, early 90s, and his preps were pretty much what I did, which was basically off season you just bulk up as much as possible, and then you go, right, I'm going to diet for 16 weeks, and then just completely cut out all, again, unhealthy food, and that's about it. So yeah, moving on. Other mistakes I made, I was doing, as I got closer to the show, it became pretty apparent that I wasn't going to be in shape for it. Because I never really dieted down to a low body fat before. I dieted for like holidays and whatnot, but I didn't really appreciate.
So you completely coached yourself?
Yes, yeah.
It was all you?
Yeah, unfortunately. The best thing that could have happened at the time is if I had a coach, because all these mistakes I made, they could have educated me before I made them, and yeah, it would have saved a lot of hassle. But yeah, going back to the prep, about sort of 7 weeks out, I wasn't in shape, and I'd already sort of demonised carbohydrates a bit, mainly because of what people were telling me. And so I cut out all carbs. I was pretty much just eating lean protein sources and a bit of fat. I started doing 2 hours cardio a day, like 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour post training.
No carbs.
My weight training, my intensity was obviously poor because I had no energy. But the weight training, I still got in quite a bit of volume, but my approach was wrong. I was thinking, right, I need to hit these numbers on these weights, hit these exercises, and and sending the right signals to the body. I was just literally, I need to do 10 reps. I was kind of seeing this like an extra calorie burn, which is like the wrong way to view weight training. And then come to the show day, I managed to get lean enough, but because I was kind of running my empty during the prep, I didn't put any sort of effort into my posing, for example. So on stage, even though my physique looked okay, I couldn't really show it because I didn't know how to pose. So yeah, they're sort of all the mistakes I made during the prep. One of the main ones, anyway.
So how did you kind of learn how to like pose peak week, for example? All these kind of variables that you really are so important to the show itself. Did you just pick things up like via social media? Did you go to anyone just for advice, or?
Unfortunately, at the time, I didn't have a good. I didn't have any sort of community on social media. Like I didn't really use it at all, really, for what the as a platform to get information, that could have helped me with bodybuilding. And like I said at the time, I didn't really know anyone in person except for people in the gym. So I was practicing a bit of posing and stuff in the gym as the show got closer, but not enough, not to the extent that I should have been. And same with nutrition and training, it wasn't really. I literally just listening to people in the gym, and that was kind of it. The information was there online, and I'm aware of that. But at the time, I just didn't really. I was too tunnel vision, I guess, and didn't really appreciate it, and didn't seek it out when I should have done.
That's crazy. So going back to last year, like we spoke about before we went on here. So I thought you only did 3 shows. You actually said that you did 9 shows the whole of 2017. So just speak a little bit, just kind of where you started, what was your first show, and kind of the lead up throughout the whole of 2017.
Yeah, so fast forward a couple of years, luckily all the mistakes I made through the prep, and you can call it like a bit of a rite of passage, but I learned from the mistakes. I tried to assimilate as much information as I could online it started off through bodybuilding forums and whatnot, and then luckily I got into a couple of YouTube channels and podcasts and kind of educated myself. So then in 2017, my approach was completely different. I started prep in January, and I had my eye on 3 shows really, and they were dictated by, the main show was the BMBF Body Power. and the other two shows were kind of like warm-up shows, if you like, just to test things out on, because every time you do like a peak week, your body changes a little bit. There's different variables. So the two shows leading into it were the UK BFF Nationals, which was at the Liverpool Echo Arena, and so the UK BFF isn't a national federation, but we do actually test that show. Then the second show was the UK BFF Warrington. And that was just because it was quite close. It was in between Body Power and the UK BFF Nationals, and it was fairly close geographically, so it just made sense to do that show. And like I said, the main show was the BFF Body Power. So I gave myself 20 weeks to the Body Power show. My condition wasn't too bad starting off with anyway, so my diet was quite low. I aimed to lose about £1 a week, which over the 20 weeks I did do. But obviously it varied week on week, but roughly it was £1 per week. And I actually finished, I placed in the national show. In the Warrington show I didn't place, but I was never expecting to. I was in the classic bodybuilding category, and I was already a bit weight because I was, for my height, I could have been about 80 kilograms, and I was actually like 75, 76 kilograms a day. And there was 9 other people in the class, so it was already quite a stacked class. And then Body Power, I finished second to the overall winner, which I don't really know, James Poyner. Yeah, he won. So he won the middleweight category and the overall. He's already won the overall this season, so he's I've got. I think he's going to do well at the finals. But yeah, so was being there, and that was mid-May. And that was it. That was going to be my season. I was pretty happy with it. 2 placings, lost to the eventual winner. So and James got a great physique, so there was no arguments. So then what I started doing was I had quite a strict reverse diet, because from my past experience, I know that it's not necessarily beneficial to just kind of taking a lot of to basically just gorge on food after a show, because there's loads of issues with doing that, and I'm not criticising people that do it, but for me it's not really the best approach in my opinion. Well, for me personally. So I started reverse dieting. I stopped doing any cardio. I still was weight training 6 days a week. I followed push-pull leg split. So I still weight training 6 days a week. Stopped doing cardio. Increased my calories to what I thought was roughly my maintenance. And then week by week, my plan was to kind of just increase carbohydrates, because my protein and fats roughly stay the same. So my plan was to increase my carbohydrates slowly. And then, really just starting off season, as we started being productive in the gym again. But what actually happened, I guess I undershot my maintenance a little bit, because my physique filled out from the carbohydrate increase. So like my glycogen stores were full, but my condition was actually getting better. Sort of on a month-to-month basis, I was still like looking stage lean, but my physique was filling out. So we got to August. So I finished the show in May. I did one show in between called the Biomass Classic. Again, that's just because it was fairly close, and I was in shape at the time, so I thought I literally decided like a couple of days before that I was going to do it, and I placed third in that show, so that's not too bad. So I got to August, and people were encouraging me, sort of saying, you can compete again, basically. And there was a couple of shows coming up. So I did the BMBF Northern, the UK DFBA Northern, or Northern Counties, and the NPA Southwest in Taunton. And the BMBF had already qualified for the finals from the Body Power show, but unfortunately I was at a wedding in Prague when the finals were in, I think it was the first weekend of October or last weekend in September. So I couldn't make those finals. But I placed in the UK DFBA Northern Counties and the NPA Southwest. So I got qualification from both those shows for the finals. So obviously, naturally, I did finals as well. So my 3 shows turned into 9 shows pretty quickly.
And just on that, what did you kind of firstly like? What was the kind of best package you brought? What kind of show? Why did you think that? And what did you kind of learn in between shows? Because that was a long kind of time period.
Yeah, the best package. Well, it was between the UKFA finals, which is for example, that's where I've got a picture of the most muscular, and I think that's probably my best stage picture. The NPA Southwest, I was the leanest of all the shows, but I was the most depleted as well. So it's difficult. I'd have to say, because of how I personally think a physique should look on stage, the UKFA finals was my best package because I was much more filled out. Before the NPA show, I went to Tunisia the week before, and I must have travel sickness, or I somehow caught like a bit of a sickness bug, and that's why I was so depleted, because I couldn't fill out, because I was literally on like not death's door, but I was suffering even on the day of the show. So but that was the leanest I was. So at the time I wasn't complaining.
And for your kind of peak week and how you, not necessarily the peak week, but how you approached the show, were they all the same? Like, is the same approach the whole time, or did you change and adapt?
Yeah, pretty much the same. The first 2 shows I did in the year, the UKBFF Nationals and the Warrington show, I kind of experimented a little bit with mainly just water intake. I don't tend to change too many variables, because I think if I had a coach who was telling me what to do, then that's one thing. But it's kind of, when you're already in like prep mode, if you like, where your decision making might not be the best, I don't like to experiment with too many variables. So my peak week strategies are generally the same. I generally deplete. I've got like little things I do like that. The last leg day will be sort of 2 weeks out. About 10 days out. Sorry. I tend to load up. I tend to start increasing water about 10 days out, but I don't cut it out completely. I just kind of I get the body used to taking a certain amount and then reduce it quite significantly, just half the intake. And I find that dries my physique out without actually dehydrating me too much, because I've made mistakes before where I've cut water out and like just not been able to get a pump or anything, because there's no water in the muscle. So yeah, my general strategy in peak week, 10 days out, I stop training legs, and that's just because I finally hold water. I might do some like isolation exercises, but I won't be doing any heavy squats or leg press or sort of gross motor movements. I deplete, and by deplete, you're already depleted when you've been dieting for that long. But I just reduce my carbohydrates a little bit, probably the first 4 days of the week. And then the next 3 days, depending on how my physique's looking, I'll increase calories, increase carbohydrates mainly, and try and fill out a little bit. And then on show day, I don't do anything. I don't look for any sort of miracle things. I just kind of stick to the same foods I've been eating, and then just depending on how I look, I'll change things. So on like an hour by hour basis, I'll kind of assess my physique and try and make a judgment of how many carbohydrates I might take and so on. But it is a lot of guesswork. So yeah.
And it's all done by you. It's all by your kind of visual eyes and what you think's best.
Yeah, pretty much. Every year I kind of debate and think I should probably invest in a coach, but I've not done it yet. But I think next time I compete I will. And I've debated doing it in my off season as well. And to be honest, I still might. But at the moment, I've always kind of done it myself.
It's one of those as well, like you know your body so well, you know what works so well, but then on the other hand, it might be quite good to get a coach to just show you a different approach to training that perhaps you never really tried before. So it's going to be an interesting debate, and one that I'm sure that you'll make the right decision on. In terms of coming out on your last show, what month was your last show? What day?
October 28th was the last one.
And how did you kind of reverse diet out the show? Did you kind of have any struggles? Was there any mindset problems? Because you've been dieting for so long, and then you've allowed all that flexibility. Like, how did you kind of deal with that?
Yeah, there's a lot of struggles, and I think people listening can probably relate if they're especially the diet down for the show. But yeah, there's quite a few physiological and psychological struggles really. So I was aware the last time I reversed. So when I started my reverse diet in May, I was I was too cautious. So I thought I need to be a little bit more aggressive now with my sort of calorie intake. But at the same time, I've made a mistake before where after a show, just sort of eating everything inside, putting a lot of excess body fat, and then I had to diet again to, just to get balance or forward. So struggles were kind of finding the balance of still having physique where, because psychologically it's difficult to look in the mirror and then you see your abs straightening away, or you look a bit more watery or fluffy or whatnot, whatever sort of term you want to use. So trying to set up a diet where I'm healthily increasing my body weight, but psychologically I'm not going to develop any issues where I might want to throw myself back into a diet too soon. Trying to think. So, I mean, the general struggles are sort of sleep. Sleep. I don't know how you found it, but sleep is always affected when I prep, especially the deeper and leaner I get. So, like, the first thing to try and address is getting my sleep back to normal, get my hormones back to normal as best as I can. But I find it's kind of like the food focus is very bad. Yeah, I'll go into the food focus in a moment, but it's like your ghrelin just spikes right up. So it doesn't matter what you're going to eat, you're never going to be sort of satisfied. And I think you play a dangerous game if you come off the plan and you're not restricted with your food still. You just kind of eat if you try and eat intuitively after a show, for example, you're literally going to eat everything in the house because you're never going to, you can be as bloated as you want, you still manage to eat more food somehow. And food focus as well was a big thing. So I was still and I've gotten over it now luckily, but I was still in defense, as a defense mechanism, for example, when I was eating a meal, I'd be guarding the plate. So if somebody was to talk to me, I'd be like, don't look at my food, just shrink your fingers, try and eat it. And that's I don't know how you develop it, but I've spoken to a few people and they've had the same thing. And little stupid things like licking the plate dry. I'm 3 months from the show, I can just leave it. But anyway, and I guess another big struggle is kind of fit shaming. And it's getting more awareness nowadays, but basically it's kind of like when you're a physique athlete and obviously you've got certain goals. For example, in the office where I work, literally everyone sort of they treat me differently. If it's like biscuits or something, they'll offer me one. No, but I'm going to have one. And then straight away, I get 3 or 4 comments saying, oh, Dean wouldn't eat them. Oh, that's too unhealthy for Dean. Just little comments like that, which don't sound like a big deal. But when you've developed potential, eating disorder type tendencies, those compounding comments and things can make a big difference. And I'm not saying I've got an eating disorder, or I'm not trying to compare myself to somebody with an eating disorder, but I think people listening can probably relate, but the fitness industry as a whole, we might look like we're in great shape, and we are in great shape physically, but mentally, we've probably got so many, as a spectrum, we've probably got a high proportion of sort of challenges and things.
Yeah.
Little comments like that, I struggle, and it's there's only so many, you hear it so many times, and then it kind of it gets to the point where you think, right, just to prove them wrong, I'm going to eat those foods now. And I've not found a good way of communicating to them, basically to stop treating me like a freak because I don't eat chocolate like every hour of the day. But yeah, the struggles. Yeah.
I think that's such a key point to touch on, because going back to fat shaming as well, we wouldn't sort of, someone that enjoys those foods and doesn't really enjoy physical activity, for example, if you just say something to them about food, it's classed as kind of bullying and, like you said, fat shaming. Whereas if it's flipped around and you're doing it in like a sarcastic way, it's exactly the same thing. It's still like fit shaming kind of. Do you know what I mean? But it makes you kind of, they try and make you embarrassed and just make you feel like kind of belittled and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to like claim woe is me or get like sympathy as such, but it's just, the comments sometimes, it's because they're kind of an annoyance anyway. Sometimes it's difficult to identify if they're saying it completely in jest or not. And even if they are saying it completely in jest, you still feel isolated and you still feel like you're being treated. Well, you are being treated differently. So yeah, it is a form of bullying, but I would say more in case it's like crying or something. So, yeah.
No, I get that completely, and that's a subject. I think whenever you kind of get into, even if you're like a beginner and you want to go into the gym, you want to start changing your food habits, I think most people go for a period where either it's family, friends, or anyone like that, they'll always have a comment. And the best thing I can say with that is just keep doing you, sort of ignore those. And it's so frustrating, because if the shoe is on the foot, if the shoe was on the other foot and you just say something about what they do, it's held in the lowest regard. So really frustrating. Moving on to your training and nutrition. So how do they vary between your off season and prep? So do they change at all? Just if you want to discuss about that.
Yeah, so I'll talk about training. Training first. So I'm a big believer in what build a muscle will keep a muscle. So generally, my training doesn't vary too much. I will say in the off season, I don't really do any core work. Whereas obviously when I'm prepping, especially as the show gets closer, I increase the frequency and volume of core. Like I don't like saying just ab training, but yeah, the whole sort of core. Otherwise, I keep the training pretty consistent. So I follow a push-pull leg split. I've got sort of certain opinions in training, and I train in a certain way. I've got like a certain philosophy. But I mean, basically, the biggest predictor, in my opinion, of long-term success in any sport, or whether it's physique competitions or general sport, the biggest predictor of success is staying injury-free. So it's always in the back of my mind to not sacrifice form for weight, for example. So there's a lot of exercises where I could definitely go heavier on, and people say, people come up to me in the gym and like, why are you bicep curling in the tens? Or no, bicep curl is a bad example, but why aren't you doing a higher weight, for example? And it's mainly just because I want to stay injury free. And touch wood so far, I've been very lucky. I've never had any serious injury through training, and I've been training for like 14 years now, so it's quite a long time. With training, so push-pull legs, I hit everything twice a week, and to be honest, I could get it all done in 4 days, but I just enjoy being in the gym, so I split it up into 6 days. That might sound a bit sad. Maybe I should experiment with a 4-day split, just so I've got more recovery time. And to quote Mike Israel on a Revive Stronger podcast, he made the quote, "Volume is king and intensity is queen," or "If volume is king, intensity is queen." And I do believe in that. Or follow that, I should say. So volume I rank as the highest, the most important factor. And then intensity is next, and then frequency is probably the third one on the list. I don't believe all volumes created equally, so I don't believe a squat is the same as doing a tricep pushdown, or a squat is the same as doing a leg extension. So I do prioritize. I've got like a hierarchy of exercises. So generally, the compound lifts I prioritize over isolation work, and they're the ones that'll structure my training around. And then I've basically got exercises where if I can fit them in, I will do. And yeah, just literally just hit my volume numbers, track my lifts, try and progressively overload on a week by week basis. And I guess, yeah, the only way it varies between off-season and prep, I generally keep the same sort of rep ranges, but in prep, as I'm getting more and more depleted, naturally my intensity might suffer a little bit, and the weight that I'm lifting is going to reduce a little bit. But yeah, otherwise it's pretty much the same.
How did you find the push-pull legs during a 6-day split, I should say, during prep? Did you find was it getting tough the kind of last 3 weeks? Or
yeah, it was definitely, and it gets to a point where it's like the only thing that gets you through is you just have to sort of have 30-second word with yourself between a set and just say, look, you need to lift this weight. But yeah, definitely, recovery is a massive thing, and to be honest, I'm possibly too much of a creature of habit. I get into a routine, but to be honest, there's definitely times when I've gotten into the gym during prep and I've not set myself a goal, but I've got numbers to hit from a training point of view, and my recovery might be shocking, or I know it's going to hinder my recovery for the next day, but because I've got these set numbers to hit, I still hit them. I know it's detrimental because it's like you're not in the, you should treat training as a skill, and when it gets to that point, I'm not in there treating training as a skill. I'm sort of treating it as just exercise in general, where I'm lifting a weight up and down. I'm not really getting a massive training stimulus from it, but I'm just doing it to hit a number. So yeah, I mean, in going forward, I'll possibly try and change my approach when I feel it's necessary. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, basically, just having quiet words to myself and trying to motivate myself and not feeling sorry for myself.
Because I myself, in my off season, I did a 6-day split. I actually kind of it was quite weird. I didn't do a push-pull legs. I kind of prioritised shoulders and back, so I did that 3 times. I can't remember what the split was, but some of it was like delts, back, quads, or something like that. Completely random, but I did that for sort of 5-6 months, and it worked right. And then when I was coached by Cam for my prep, he still put me on a 6-day split. I can't remember what the split was. I don't think it was. It was a push, pull, legs, upper, lower, upper. And that was absolutely fine until the last, like I said, sort of 5-4 weeks where you really have to dig in deep and you just have no energy. And even just walking, like my gym is literally down the road, even just walking to the gym, it was so tiring. I hate to think I had to drive there. I don't know if I'd make it there.
The last 4 weeks, it gets down to that, and you have to be very, very intentional and strategic with how you set up your day so that you get enough meeting as well. I don't know if you found that, but what was I going to say? But basically, the last 4 weeks. I was going to say, so as I get closer to the show, just as calories get lowered, I tend to carb cycle. Not because there's any magic with carb cycling, it's just like a decent approach. But yeah, so I'll do 1 high day and then 3 days low and repeat.
Okay.
Yeah, when I have the high day, I find it fills up glycogen stores, and then that day just mentally, because I know I'm having more carbs, I feel better. The next day, I've got my glycogen storage is a little bit higher, so I've got a bit more energy. But then the following 2 days is just a massive struggle.
And that worked for yourself, and when did you start to introduce that kind of carb cycling?
Yeah, when I get lean enough, so it's generally about 4 weeks before a show. I find, because I normally would follow, I keep my diet pretty consistent 6 days a week, and I have 1 high carb day. Not from the word go, but as I'm getting leaner, I'll generally have one high carb day a week. And then as I get leaner and leaner, I feel like I utilize carbohydrates more effectively. Like 50 grams of rice can have a massive effect. So generally about 4 weeks out, when I haven't got much left to lose, the strategy is, or my thinking behind it is, the high carb day effectively fills the glycogen as much as possible and gives me energy for the next 3 days, which one of those will potentially be a rest day. And then that gives me it creates an environment where I can drop my calories quite low in those 3 days. Generally just eating protein and fat. Obviously I'll have some carbohydrates, but generally just protein and fat, and I can create quite a big calorie deficit from it. That's the main reason for it.
No, wicked, man. Last point I want to touch on. So going back to your very first show and to now, or 2017, your training approach, how does it kind of differ to what you did before, and what have you learned the most, would you say?
Yeah. So the first show I did in 2014, I was literally just following like a typical bro split, because, like I said, I hadn't really done much outside the box thinking or research. So at the time, it was kind of like whatever the biggest guy in the gym was doing, I kind of just copied that.
Yeah.
So I was doing chest on a Monday, and so obviously the typical bro split.
I think most people did that to begin with, didn't they?
Yeah. I was training like 4 or 5 days a week. Some days I was doing some weeks I was doing 2 leg days. But then fast forward to now, again, like after 2014, I thought if I'm going to do this again, I need to educate myself, because I can't suffer like that. Otherwise, there's no point. I wouldn't be able to compete again, going through that sort of prep again. So I just tried to. I tried to look at the top minds of the industry and just did as much research as I could. Again, listening to podcasts, YouTube, and generally just internet for like bodybuilding forums, and then experimenting with different training approaches. And that's how I developed a lot of sort of philosophies that I've got now in my training. So, for example, I put a lot of emphasis on the eccentric motion of the lift. So I'll always keep it under control, and I'll generally do like a 3 to 5, generally about 4 seconds, but in the range of like 3 to 5 seconds, slow control. And then the concentric part of the lift, I'll try and utilize as much power as I can with probably like a 1 to 2 second range of motion. And I'll also, at the point of tension, I'll try and hold the weight as well for a couple of seconds. And I'm a big proponent now of going back to the risk of injury and trying to avoid injury. I'm a big proponent now of stopping at technical failure. So some people stop some people would class failure as when you can't lift the bar off the chest again, leaning for a bench press. Whereas I would class it technical failure is when you can't control that weight with proper technique.
Yeah.
As soon as it starts to feel the technique going, that's pretty much, when I'm never doing an ego lift.
No.
That's pretty much when I'll re-rack the weight, have a breather. If it was a poor set, I'll try and avoid myself. But yeah, that's changed a lot. So concentration or emphasis on the eccentric part of the movement, stopping at technical failure, and then my actual training approach. I found it best to hit. Kind of what you said before with your split. I'll hit my weak body parts, so parts I need to recruit the most, more frequently.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to bring at the moment my hamstrings, side, delts, and back, coincidentally similar to you.
Yeah.
So those things I try and hit sort of two times minimum, sometimes 3 times a week. And then body parts where I'm more comfortable with. I'll only hit those twice a week. So yeah, frequency's changed a lot. I'm trying to send like a muscle golden signal 2 to 3 times a week for each body part.
Oh, wicked, bro. And what's your kind of plans for the future in terms of bodybuilding? So what's your kind of thought process? You're not going to compete this year, it's going to be next year?
Yeah, so I've done, so I competed every year, 2014, 15, 16 and 17. And I just fell into a bad cycle of competing and then recovering from the contest prep and then starting contest prep again. And I've not had a productive off season at all since like taking bodybuilding seriously. So after my show in October 2017, my main focus was recovering fully from a diet, recovering, like having no more food focus. So at that time, I wasn't really, between October and April, about a 6-month period, I was trying to be as optimal as I could be, but I was prioritizing recovery from a diet from like a hormonal point of view, psychological point of view, and trying to eradicate all the bad habits that you pick up, like the food focus that I talked about before. So some of my food choices at that time, in that time period, weren't necessarily always the most optimal food choices for bodybuilding goals, but it was just mainly, a lot of it was just for psychological benefits. And then after April to June, I kind of got more, I was comfortable with where I was at. I got up to 87 kilogram, which is about 12 kilogram above stage weight. And I thought I should probably try and, because all my food focus had gone then, I ran a mini cut. So it is a 6-week mini cut, which is taking me up to now pretty much. I dropped 6 kilograms in 6 weeks. And now I'm ready to start. Now I'm sort of seeing it as my actual off season.
Yeah.
So my goal going forward, I think 2020 is when I'm planning on competing again.
It went a bit funny. Did you say 2020?
Yeah, sorry, 2020. Yeah, I could potentially, if I had a very productive next 6 to 8 months, I could potentially compete next year. But I want to make not drastic, but I want to make significant improvements to my physique because, you know, I know I've got what it takes to get to the finals. You know, I've been comfortable knowing I can qualify for the finals again. I'm sort of at that standard, but I want to try and, if I can, break into the top 3, which is going to be very difficult because the standard's crazy. UK national bodybuilding standard is just unbelievable, really. But
yeah.
So I'm thinking a good 18 months now where my strategy is going to be sort of 4 to 6 months of eating a calorie surplus with potentially like a diet break in between, and then maybe like a mini cut, because this mini cut was quite successful. A mini cut in between, just to reduce body fat and utilize carbohydrates a little bit better, like improving insulin sensitivity. They're sort of the 3 main things that I'm thinking about. And yeah, a couple of so quite a few. I can probably fit in about 3 gaining phases between now and then. I want to try and get to 200 pounds. I got to 190 pounds back in June. So my goal now is to kind of, I'm trying to eat trying to increase my body weight by about 1 to 2% per month. So it's about 1 to 2 pound gain per month. I'm going to try and get back up to 190. And then I'll assess my body composition at 190 and decide whether I can continue pushing or if I need to kind of maybe just eat in a maintenance or deficit for a little while, just to kind of recomp a little bit. But yeah, if I was to write it down, it'd be get to 200 pounds, be happy at that weight, and then I'm thinking the next competition prep I do, I want to be about 20 pounds above stage weight. So in an ideal world, I'll be 200 pounds, lose 20 pounds, and compete at about 180, which would be the upper limit of the middleweight division. But we'll see how it goes from there.
Crazy, mate. Fingers crossed for you, and I'm sure when you compete next time, your physique, even though it's incredible at the moment and what you did last year, I'm 100% sure it's going to go to a completely different level. So, yeah. Just a few questions to finish off with. So I'll ask these on my story. First question, thoughts on the intra workout. So firstly, if you just want to explain what an intra workout is to those that may not understand.
Yeah, so the intra workout is the period when you start training and finish training, and generally it's certain supplements which you can use to get the best, to get the most out of training. There's a lot. and it's obviously driven by the supplements industry. There's a lot of supplements out there, so it is a big minefield. And I don't know if this person's a beginner or intermediate or advanced, but I'll try and speak generally. My main thoughts on intra-workout, it depends on where you're at the time. So if you're in a deficit, it's more important than if you're in a surplus because you're gonna have less energy. The only things I've got a bit of a cocktail of an intra-workout. I don't take a pre-workout, just because I like to have a consistent training environment. So I don't want to like rely on the pre-workout and then cut it out and so on and so forth. So my intra-workout, I prioritise having some carbohydrates for energy, and because I eat before training, but it's a couple of hours before training, so I just feel better having some sort of like elevated amino acid levels or blood amino acid levels. So I do have a protein source. And what you can take and use intra-workout is person dependent, but what I personally use is highly branched cyclodextrin, which a lot of people are familiar with. It's a high molecular weight carbohydrate, doesn't cause any gastrointestinal distress, digests really easily, and it's virtually available for energy straight away. If your weight training session is less than an hour, you're probably not going to reap a lot of benefit from it. But certainly, if it's sort of 45 minutes and longer, then I think I would advocate having a carbohydrate supplement in your intra-workout. And again, I use the HBCD, but you've got other ones like anything that's kind of just easy to digest, so like this dextrose drinks and so on. Regards to protein, so BCAAs and EAAs are very popular. I use a Pepto-Pro, which is hydrolyzed casein.
Oh, okay.
That is it's pre-digested, hence the hydrolyzed part. And in the hydrolyzed casein form, it's low. What's the word? It's low osmolality. Basically, I'm trying to get more technical than I should be. It's absorbed faster than fruit-form amino acids, so it's absorbed faster than branched-chain amino acids. So I have and the protein. I've gone on a tangent. The protein would be important if you've not had protein sort of like 2 hours before training. So I train at 6 p.m. evening, and I have a pre-workout meal, or pre-training meal at 4 p.m. So I just feel a little bit better because I'm training for like 90 minutes. I feel a little bit better just having a form of protein. And the HBCD and Pepto-Pro are both unflavored. So I use a flavored BCA, literally just to flavor it so it tastes nice, not because there's any importance in BCA. The pro answer would be loose. The Pepto-Pro is quite low in leucine, so I'm just making sure I get leucine in there as well. But it's literally just a flavored water. That's they're the only things I take intra-workout. Protein, if you can fit it into your protein requirements, and you've not got elevated amino acid levels because you've eaten quite far away from training. Carbohydrates, if you're going to have quite a long training session, and then BCAAs to flavour it.
Yeah, because if anyone's had unflavoured any kind of drink, protein, it's absolutely disgusting.
Some people might be able to relate, but the Pepto-Pro in particular, unflavoured, is not good.
Not a fan.
No.
Just a quick sort of side question to that before I get on to the final one. You say you train at 6 p.m. in the evening. So the question was does training in the evening affect sleep quality? So firstly, what's your experience on that? Does it affect your sleep quality? And this question, I'm guessing it might affect their sleep quality. What would you suggest doing?
Yeah, so that's another reason why I don't use pre-workout, because I'm training quite late in the evening. If I have a stimulant-based pre-workout, which is high in caffeine, essentially I'm going to struggle to fall asleep. So I try and get to sleep by sort of between 10 and 11. I'm not that great at it at the minute, but in an ideal world, I'm asleep by 10. So the question to ask is, because training in the evening is actually, for me, it's the best time to train. There's some studies that you can cherry pick studies, but there's studies that show your grip strength is higher in the evening, testosterone is higher in the evening. So generally, I feel like it's a good time to train. You've had quite a few meals in during the day, so you've probably got more energy. But depending on how active you are during the day, you might have less energy. Hence why you might be taking a pre-workout. If you have a pre-workout that's stimulant-based, so it's got caffeine in it, and that pre-workout is necessary, but it's affecting your sleep quality later on, there are a couple of things you can take. There's L-theanine, which basically lessens the impact that caffeine would have. And there's some pre-workouts which have got something called T-cream in it, which they will combine it with caffeine, but it gives you more of a stable energy release rather than like a high spike. Yeah. What I would do, the sleep topic, there's quite a lot of variables. So training itself, I think could help you sleep. It would help me sleep because
Agreed.
My energy's lower. Obviously, you get a bit of a cortisol release from training. I generally have some carbohydrates after training, so I get a bit of an insulin spike. But once the insulin spike comes back down, I do generally feel tired. Your body, without trying to go into the science too much, your body's got circadian rhythms where it'll release melatonin in the evening, for example. But then there's certain things that you can do. There's certain stimulus around the house, for example, which might affect the melatonin release. So if you're on your phone late at night and it's got a backlit screen, that's going to affect the melatonin production. And just generally doing things like the topic of sleep hygiene, there's certain things that you can do which will either benefit or have a negative impact on your sleep and being able to wind down and so on. So I'd encourage somebody to have to develop a nighttime routine. Yeah. Where, for example, some things I found quite useful. I try and switch off from social media. I certainly turn off my notifications like an hour before going to bed. I try and limit my exposure to electronics as much as possible. And I'm not perfect, but those sorts of things, doing that like an hour before when I go to sleep helps. Getting like a warm shower or bath actually helps as well, and that's to do with raising your body temperature, and then it comes back down because your body temperature should be decreasing in the evening. It peaks at like 3 a.m. at night for some reason, so a lot of people find it wake at night. Anyway, and also there's certain supplements which you could use. ZMA is a very popular one. 5-HTP, which is like a natural precursor to serotonin, and what you eat before bed can have contributing factor. So I generally eat carbohydrates about an hour before bed. I have like a bowl of oats basically, but I find that releases serotonin, and that sort of the feel-good hormone can help you sort of relax and have a good sleep. But if you eat too much before bed, you'll probably, so if you have like a massive post-training meal, and that's quite close to the time you can sleep, because your body's digesting that food, it's not going to be able to, you're going to struggle to when you lie down, it's just going to be sort of uncomfortable, so you're going to struggle and it's going to affect your sleep quality. Mm-hmm. So there's quite a broad, there's a lot of factors really, but if the person wants to message me, I could probably give more advice. It gives me more detail, basically. That's something to consider.
It's one of those things that you've got to kind of firstly work out is it to do with the training and why your sleep might be affected, and then secondly, like you said, there's so many variables that could either help for it. So yeah, definitely drop Dean a message. Final question, which is quite. Yeah, I like this question a lot. So, would you suggest doing individual arm training if your biceps/triceps are lagging? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, Yeah, I definitely would. Definitely would. If you would have asked me 4 years ago, I probably would have said no. I possibly would have said they're not necessary. Um, and you can still argue they're not necessary because individual arm training. So for example, with biceps, there's not many exercises you can do. With various compound exercises, your biceps will be used.
Yeah.
But for direct training, you need to make sure that it's quite a boring muscle group to train because the only thing you can really change is retracting your shoulders to change the position of your elbow, and it's basically flexion of the elbow joint. That's how you train biceps. So it's literally this elbow position. You can train it in different. You can change the way you train it. And then triceps is very similar. Triceps probably get hit more often with other movements. But in terms of direct tricep work, it's all sort of isolation movement. Again, keeping your elbows sort of locked in, not moving your upper arm when you're performing the exercise. But yeah, sorry, to try and answer the question, I would, if you really feel like your arms are lagging, I'd experiment with two things. One, you could do an individual arm day, but it'd be very boring, just doing biceps and triceps. Or possibly, what a lot of people do is do the bicep and tricep work at the end of the workout. So they'll get to the end of the workout, maybe do a couple of bicep curls, or get to the end of another day. Like if it's a push day, they might do a couple of tricep extensions. If it's a pull day, they'll do a couple of bicep curls at the end of it. Maybe try and prioritize those movements before your main body parts, and just kind of experiment and see whether you get a better training stimulus from that. Because generally at the end of training, we all do it, we're fatigued and time might be pushing on and you think, I'll just do maybe one less set or a couple less reps, and everyone falls into the habit of doing that. So I think just training it, prioritising it with your exercise selection would help. And also, going back to what I said before, you've got volume, intensity, and then frequency. So track how many sets you do with biceps and triceps, and maybe increase the amount of sets you're doing. Obviously, intensity, you can't be overly intense on a bicep curl, but I think the main thing would be to keep your focus and attention on your form, and make sure that you're not ego lifting and lifting at an appropriate weight. And frequency as well. Maybe try, if you're only training once per week, try doing them twice per week. And if you're doing them twice per week, try doing them 3 times per week. That's my advice, really.
Yeah, spot on, bro. Definitely for myself, I think, especially with triceps, look how you're kind of doing your press movements first. And then with regards to volume's good, but like you said, form is so key. So you can do as many different bicep curls as you want. If you're not kind of retracting your shoulders back and you're not actually kind of isolating that bicep and kind of lengthen it, then it won't grow. So yeah, spot on, mate. Yeah, that's it, bro. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for giving your insight into bodybuilding. You've got so much experience that people can sort of learn from. You've done so many different shows. Last year alone, you did so many shows. And mate, the future's so bright for you. And like you said, if you do compete in 2020 or even next year, your physique's going to go a different level. So, but yeah, once again, thank you so much for coming on. And
yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, wicked, and we'll catch up soon. Yeah.
Yeah, nice one, Nathan. All right,
dude. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.